everyone. Welcome to Goddess Talk. This is episode 6, and I am so excited to introduce this week's goddess, Kenna Brett. And I cannot be more honored or privileged to be able to call this goddess my friend. But I would love to introduce you to this celebrity intuitive medium who is going to rock your world. So I hope everyone will put their seatbelts on because it's going to be a wild ride. We have already had some technical difficulties, so we are calling this Spirit with Spirits tonight. So cheers, Kenna, and thanks for being on this episode of Goddess Talk.
I am so excited. Thank you for inviting me. And whatever cosmic, universal stuff has made this difficult, it's only because it's that worth it.
That's right. It is going to be quite the episode, I know, and I have a feeling this is going to be a series already. So, awesome. With that being said, I do want to let you know tonight's theme, and that is how to strengthen your intuition to live your most empowered life. So I would love to take a minute just to give you some background on my relationship with Kenna. I was fortunate enough to meet her about 5 years ago through a mutual friend who will also hopefully be a goddess one day on Goddess Talk. So we met through completely different circumstances. And then about 3 years ago, I lost my father, and already feel the tears coming up. But I just want this to be a testimony to Kenna and what a beautiful light and soul she is to me and to everyone she touches. She has just meant so much to me. And I will tell you my personal experience. Like I said, my dad passed away about 3 years ago. And at that time, I was really just starting to step into my motivational speaking career. And I had a huge event coming up, and I was so excited and nervous and all the feelings that go along with that. And I remember being at the event, and they introduced me up to the stage, and it was the biggest stage I'd ever been on and the biggest audience. And I usually don't have a PowerPoint. I usually am just speaking off the cuff. And this particular time I had a PowerPoint, and they handed me, the clicker that controls the PowerPoint, and it wouldn't work. And so there I am, kind of stage fright in front of, all these people, and the PowerPoint won't work. And I just remember them always saying, like, push the green button, push the green button. And so finally, long story short, the malfunction's corrected. It ended up being a great event. But when I left that day, I just remember how powerfully I felt my dad with me and wanting to call him. He would have been the first person I called. And this is where I get choked up. So fast forward, I am on a session with Kenna, and she says, your dad's here. And I said, okay. And she said, he wants you to know he's proud of you. And he was there in the back row. And I just remember being like, okay. And then she said, there's something about a malfunction. And he keeps pointing to a green button. And, that was just such a huge moment for me to know that he was there, and that feeling I felt was him. And so I guess my message in telling you this is, when you have those feelings, when you feel your loved one's presence with you, you are not imagining. They are with you. And I want to ask all of you, I was actually watching a podcast yesterday, and I feel like it's so appropriate to share today, but it said there's 2 ways to ride a roller coaster. The first way is to grab the handlebars and close your eyes with all your might and be scared to death. And then the second way is to put your hands up in the air, keep your eyes wide open, and laugh the whole ride. So what I encourage you to do today is ride this roller coaster with your hands in the air and be open to everything that's going to be discussed today. Be open to being a little outside your comfort zone, because if you're watching this, you're intrigued by something that you read or that you saw about this episode. And so I just want to thank Kenna for being here. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful episode, and I'm just so excited that you all, I know, are going to take away something so inspirational and some new knowledge and some new wisdom, and hopefully some new peace and healing that you can take with you from this day forward. So I know I'm doing a lot of the talking, and I warned Kenna this. I will have a few more things to say, and then I am giving the.
I think it's great. I love it. You know why? Because there's something about getting validation. Even doing this as long as I'm doing, hearing this from you. I don't think I've ever, one, I don't remember my readings, but 2, hearing it again from you like that, I'm getting goosers. I'm like, oh my God, That's so exciting.
Yes, well,
I'm so happy to have been able to give you that message. So
well,
I thank you.
no, I love you dearly. You're the real deal. That's why you're on here today. And I want to share your gifts and, more importantly, the healing that is available to so many of us out there that just don't know enough about it or are scared, to bring peace and calm and love and light, to this topic. So with that being said, if you haven't tuned into Goddess Talk before, the intention of this platform is to truly create a space for women, to inspire women to claim their power, recognize their highest potential, and live their best life. And what I have found in my own personal journey was tapping into my own intuition and listening to my own soul was when my life started transforming, and when I started being able to powerfully and authentically stepping into who I was and being able to share that unapologetically with the world. And Kenna definitely had a huge part in that. Yes, and her abilities, that just more importantly as my friend. So thank you, Kenna, for being part of my personal journey. I love you and I adore you. So with that being said, I do want to jump into all sorts of questions. So
Yes.
first we're going to start off with the intuition discussion, and we have all sorts of questions for you tonight. And so you are about to have the floor, so get ready. Take one more sip of that drink. You're going to need it. And then, then we will kind of roll into some specific mediumship questions. But to kind of lead the way into this awesome, powerful intuition discussion, I just wanted to, I looked up some intuition quotes that I felt were really powerful to me. I just wanted to share them as a like an introduction as well. So the first one is, intuition is seeing with your soul. So absolutely 100%.
Yes.
I love this one too. Before you learned to speak, intuition was your first language. So really going back to the root of how we came into this world. And then lastly, I love this one, never underestimate the power of female intuition. So you better watch out when you got a female that's really tapped into it, and there's no stopping them, because that's when we become fierce.
Yes, true. Very true.
Awesome. Okay, well, so now I am going to give the floor to you. Sorry for talking so much and stealing your thunder that you so deserve. But just tell the audience, I know that you discovered these gifts and abilities at a very young age, but please share with them kind of, you know, that story and how you ended up where you are now.
Okay. Well, you know, that's one of the questions that I always get is how, you know, whether it's dinner or wherever, people say, so how did you know? Once they find out what I do, like, how did you end up doing this? What happened? Can you always see ghosts? Did you always? And for me, it was just simple. It's like, yes, you know what, but there's a whole other side to the coin on that, is when you are young and you see spirits and you don't know what to do with them, that's one thing. You know, going 30, 40 years or, you know, whatever, trying to decide what that means, that's the difficult part. That's the real, what I call an initiation. And we all go through an initiation, and it doesn't mean that, you know, you end up doing what I do, talking to spirits and ghosts and psychically reading people. It just, we all go through an initiation period to become who we are. It's always trial by fire. And you know, when I was young, I remember my very first experience seeing a spirit, and he was coming out, you know, of my closet, and he would come out every night. He was a sweet old gentleman, and you know, and luckily I had a, you know, a really supportive family, you know, mother, grandmother, father, sister, and so even though I was the weird one, the black sheep, it was like just something that you kind of live with. And you know, most children, you know, like you said, were born with intuition, and so you know, that's what I actually call intuition. So that's very good. Is intuition is your soul speaking to you. That's what it is. Intuition and psychic abilities, you know, they go hand in hand, but they're different. And intuition is your soul speaking to you. And so throughout, you know, my life, I made different choices, like we all do. And I got married at a young age, and had my children young, and really the hard initiation started, like all of us go through, is it usually takes some sort of tragedy, a divorce, a death, to ignite us to move forward, to shed everything that we thought we were, to become everything that we wanted to be. And that's what happened for me. It took the ending of an 18-year marriage to finally be like, I have been living sort of under this veil, being somebody that I never thought that I could be. And so, it's always those greatest struggles that help teach us the greatest lessons. And, once I started, not hiding my gifts, and I became less of a parlor trick and, at dinner parties and bunko and, room mom, things like that, is then it became a career for me that just has, taken off, thank goodness. And I'm so thankful for it. And, some people come to me, talk about mediumship and psychic abilities. For me, it all started because of my own personal healing. I had to heal to take off all those layers to find out who I was. And so for me, psychic and mediumship, it doesn't matter whether I'm reading for a business, whether I'm doing mediumship, whether I'm doing a workshop to help people, it's always about healing. And that means it's not about me, it's about you. What helps you? And so that has always been really, really important to me. And once I started healing myself and better understanding myself, I was so thankful that I was able to help other people heal themselves. And that's my favorite part. I don't, all the labels and psychic and medium, I don't use that. I don't like to describe myself as a psychic medium. For me, I'm just a weird little nut job from the Midwest who likes to ask weird questions. That's all. Just, it's a mystic. To me, mysticism, a mystic, that's my favorite word because it encompasses everything.
Well, you said a couple things, and I hope I can, there's three, so I hope I don't forget one of them in the process. But one, you talked about going through your own healing, and I know I've heard this quote from you, through chaos comes creation. And I feel like that's really what happens in so many women's life, especially it kind of takes a huge life change, such as a divorce that so many of us go through, myself included, that really makes you go, wait, who am I? What do I want? And how do I get there? And that's kind of where this healing journey starts. And I feel like a lot of people that are tuned in are in that spot. And I know just through my recent empowerment coaching, that is the number one need right now. It's who can I have to walk with me on this path? Because ultimately, you have to take care of you. But if you can find help or a mentor or someone to hold your hand along the way, you've got to have it. And so that is definitely what you've been to me. And, I can only hope to pay that forward to somebody else. So I just wanted, you said that, and that I wanted to pay more attention to that. Secondly, you said you're a nut job, and you are absolutely not a nut job. I think you are going against the norms of a belief system that is falling apart right now, especially. I think people are more intrigued than ever and looking for answers because something is missing, and they know there's something more, and they don't know what it is, where to find it, how to get there, and the circle of people to help support them in that without thinking they're a nut job. So but I think that is a common misconception, and I'm in the South for anyone who's watching, and I feel like especially in the Southeast, this topic is a little taboo, and it can be a little frightening to some people. And so I actually kind of want to jump into that question now and tell us, let's just address it from the get-go. What do you feel are those common fears, those misconceptions about what you are able to do and how you're able to communicate with the other side, and just intuition, a strong sense of intuition? What are those fears that you most commonly see, and how do you address them?
Well, for me, the first, I'm from Missouri too, so I'm from southern Missouri, the Southwest. I have the whole, traditional upbringing, and that's one of the questions that I get, not to get into, religion or anything like that, but like how do you reconcile what you do with how you were brought up? I'm like, easy. you know, everything I was taught to grow up, it's just like, oh, you know, now they have friends. Now my perspective is bigger. And, you know, one of the things that I always say is like this picture, you know, you spent your whole life looking at this and you back up and now it's the whole picture. This never goes away. What you learn, your core, that never goes away. You just grow until your perspective gets bigger. You never have to really let go of what brought you peace. If you think you have to let go of what has brought you peace in the past, you're doing it wrong. And you know, the other fear, it's all labels. And you know, labels are great. We actually need them. We need them desperately as a species. You know, that's why, you know, look at everything that's happening politically in the world. We need labels. I'm on this side, I'm on that side, I'm this or I'm that. And that's what's coming sort of to the surface right now to fall apart. And so that to me is the greatest fear of doing what I do. And I find myself falling into it also. You know, when people say, what do you do? You know, I look, you know, to my part. I'm like, it's still, after doing this all this time, I still have problems getting through saying what I do, because people have this sort of misconception, you know, of what I do, that somehow they're going to be cursed, or I'm letting in, you know, crazy spirits, and that's not it at all. And so that to me is what's breaking through. And like you said, you know, people are asking, they're searching. And, you know, and one of the other things that I always say, my motto is, there's always more healing in asking the question than getting the answer. Anybody who's ever got a reading from me has heard that.
But I really want to dive deep into intuition, because yes, you have this amazing mediumship ability. Is that a form of intuition? Yes, absolutely. Are there all sorts of forms of intuition that are that are unique to each of us? Yes. So I would love to know from you, kind of in your experience with working with so many women and seeing the healing that comes from that. What do you feel is kind of the biggest thing holding them back from really stepping into the highest potential of stepping into their own intuition?
Well, you know, to answer, everything to me comes down to fear. We are always scared of something. We're scared of being right. We're scared of being wrong. We're scared of being heard. We're scared of being seen. And so that, you know, there's thousands and thousands of books about getting rid of fear, getting rid of fear. And so you know how I work. I'm like, you got to go behind that. If all you're doing is fighting fear, then all you're going to find is reasons to be scared. And so, you know, it just comes down to fear, and back to that same concept of asking why. Why am I really scared? Why? Who am I scared of? And if you can keep asking those questions until you finally get back to an answer that is just, I am, or I can. And that to me is what holds women back, is they are afraid to use the word I. And I, you know, that's the first letter in intuition, is I. And until you can look at yourself, you're going to have a very hard time understanding anybody around you.
I love that. The first letter of intuition is I. Oh my gosh, that is so great. I'm going to have to steal that and put it on my wall for sure. I love what you said about fear, and I think you're exactly right, because there's a book I love called A Course in Miracles, and it really dives deep into love versus fear. And at the end of the day, every choice we make, even the most simple to the largest, comes down between the belief if we're deserving in the highest possibility of love, or if we make ourselves small and play in the field of unworthiness and choose fear. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
You know, thinking that we're ever going to get away from fear is not the right way to go about this. We have to just accept fear for what it is, which is, it's only what we make it. Most of the time when we're scared of something, it's not something that's happening right now. It's something that, one, is either out of our control, or two, something that, you know, it might happen, somebody else is going to do it, something is going to do it, and really it's about that. It brings you all back to you. That might happen, but what am I going to do about it? So once we, you know, get rid of sort of that displacing our own power onto other people, things, environments, we start seeing that we can manifest the change that we want to see and experience.
Absolutely. And while you're talking, I'm just thinking, I feel like women, our biggest fear is the fear of rejection. And so we decide to play small. We don't want to give ourselves or create that space, that time and space to really focus on us and what we want and who we are and what we want to put onto our world, because we're so scared that it won't be accepted. And we make the choice to stay small. And I'm speaking from my own experience. I've really pushed myself to put myself out there and do some scary things. And yeah, are there people who love it? Yeah. Are there people who don't? Yeah. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm happy. And I just want to be kind of, that pillar for people to take that chance on themselves. So
instead of comparing yourself to what everybody else is doing, you have to come back to I want. And I want is probably the best question you could ever ask yourself. And if you can answer that honestly, then you are well on your way to, ascension and growth and having everything that you should have.
And just to take it a step further, which I know when I say this is going to make everyone go, but to say, I deserve whatever it is that's your heart desire, because then you go, whoa, I'm taught not to, like, that's selfish if I say I deserve something great. No, it's not.
Right. Well, I don't talk about, so much, but thank you for asking about how I got there. But, we've all probably heard of Wayne Dyer, and, he is amazing. He is the best, he's just fantastic. And he is one of those souls whose life path transcended from the spiritual to the material, from the new age to, the past. He really helped us find a new vocabulary for walking into worlds. And I love that about him. And I remember, when I first started this journey, 10 years ago or so, and I listened to his book, I believe it was called I Am. And I was in a gas station and filling my car up with gas, just going through what we go through, unhappy, trying to, you're in your own head. And he does those affirmations. And his affirmation was, saying, I am worth it. And it still sometimes will choke me up because I had to pull over, and I couldn't believe it was that very simple thing that became such a cliche until you actually say it. And once you say it and you really embody what it means, it takes you on a whole new path.
It does. And we've talked about affirmations, which is an I am statement, on a couple episodes now. But it really and truly is, it's something that's so common between so many of these goddesses that have been interviewed, is that they create this space for them to make affirmations part of their day, to say, I am worthy of this, I am deserving of this, I want this, and I'm going to give power to it. So thank you for sharing all that. And yes, anyone who has not checked out Wayne Dyer and his amazing books, definitely put that on your to-do list. Oh my gosh, like, I feel we could talk about just that one question.
I know.
The entire episode. So I'm going to move on to the next question. Around intuition, and what are the 3 tips that women can do to strengthen their own intuitive abilities?
I get asked that question a lot. It's one of those things that sort of wraps up a lot of my sessions or readings or workshops. And I always start with the same thing. I've said it to you, is what works for you. And so to really tap into your intuition, I usually tell people it's like you want to be aware. You want to be present. And, people, of course, meditation. We all talk about meditation. You want to meditate. You want to breathe. And that's something I know Dale talked about it in your last one about, journaling. And to me, journaling is a way of meditative too. And, meditation, the whole point of meditation is to become meditative. And so sitting and being silent does not work for everybody. Or it doesn't work forever. For me, I have to take walks. I have to move. I have to get into the elements. I have to let the air speak to me, the water, the earth speak to me. And, so to develop your intuition, start by, being. You breathe. You become in a meditative state. And the other one is belief. And, that's another one of the things I tell everybody. Until you can believe in the unseen is not going to be believable. You have to believe in the unseen. and you know, you have to really believe it. And once you sort of dial in to the unseen, and that the messages are there, they just come constantly. You're bombarded, and you just get this whole sense of wonderment that fills you up all the time. And you know, you'll kind of want to tear up because you know you found a feather on the ground, or you'll tear up because you heard a song on the radio that you were just talking about. And you know, it's being here and being now. And you know, intuitiveness is something, like you said in the beginning, that we are born with. It is our divine right to speak for ourselves. And so once women start understanding that, you know, and we're not trying to get that validation from everybody else, it's going to come from a higher source. And that higher source that you've been, you know, searching for forever. Because I promise, whether you call it spirit guide, God, universe, it doesn't matter. They're not hiding from you. You make their job so much easier when you will open the door and let them speak to you. And so that's how you tap in. Find something that works for you and know that it's for you.
I love what you said. So, like, I love, because you answered it so perfectly. It's like, what are the 3 tips to strengthen your intuition? And you said the 3 B's. You said be aware, be present, and belief. And those are all huge. And just to tap on the be present, someone told me this before, that to go a day and just like kind of self-actualize,
Right. Yes. I get what you're saying.
How much of your day you spend either stuck in the past, so you're sad, depressed, or feeling held back from something that already happened,
right.
Or how much time you're spending worried and full of anxiety and fear of what hasn't happened yet.
Right.
It's a mind-blowing exercise for you to do. And then how much of your day you're actually spent right here, right now, being grateful for the moment you have and everything that's in front of you. When I did that, I was blown away, and I've really never been the same since. I really want to challenge everyone to do that, to be present and to be present more. And when you do that, you're just able to be in a state of gratitude, which is the best thing you can do for the law of attraction, for anything.
But and you know, and it's always that prefix. It's be. It doesn't matter what comes after that. It's being. And you know, through all of this, you know, which I'm so grateful for, this new age and this search, is somehow our human rights to be frustrated, to be angry, to be joyful. Those all go hand in hand. And so I find with women, especially, you know, we don't think we have a right to be mad. We don't think we have a right to be even suspicious, you know, and that's where you know, that's okay. How else are you going to test your abilities unless you accept that there's a reason for what you're feeling? And so if you're going to be angry, be happy about it.
No, and just going back to that I and intuition, I think we are programmed to be people pleasers, and so we feel guilt or shame if we take a minute to say, wait, I shouldn't be angry, or I shouldn't be sad, or I shouldn't be upset about this. No.
You know what I say about should.
You've got to listen to your emotions. They're your GPS for what your soul is needing. And so you're probably better at explaining this, that, you know, kind of like the yin and yang. So the opposite of, you've got to feel guilt in order to know what freedom feels like, or you've got to know what shame is the catalyst to the ultimate self-love. So they're actually the same emotion, just on opposite spectrums. So when you catch yourself being off balance on the so-called negative spectrum of it, then that's when you can really check yourself to say, no, this means
because
I'm
we're
needing love
of the negative. And you know, nothing can happen without a negative and a positive. All of creation requires a negative force and a positive force.
I love it. Well, another huge buzzword right now, as we talk about intuition, I feel it's the word empath. And I know I speak from experience, because on kind of my journey through my own intuitive abilities, I came across the word empath, and it was like a bolt of lightning hit me, because my whole life I always felt a little different. always felt like, like I would honestly describe it like I felt my heart was a couple size larger than most. Like I felt like I felt everything as an extremity. And from other people. Like I could be in a room and completely connect emotionally with somebody without them saying a word. So I was always a really good mediator.
Right.
And I was always very in tune with other people's feelings, and that I felt was part of me being such a people pleaser for so much of my life, because I didn't want to ever hurt anyone because I could feel their pain. And you know, some people may not have a clue on what an empath is or have ever heard that term, but I feel like it is a very feminine, intuitive ability that's very common. And there's so many of us out there that have no idea that that's really a gift, that it's a superpower that we can really tune into. And on both ends of the spectrum, yes, it can have some things where it makes you confused or a people pleaser or give away your power because you're always really concerned with everybody else. But at the same time, if you're able to be aware of that and then make it work in your favor, you can do some really great transformative healing work, things like that too. So I would just love kind of you to explain what an empath is to you and explain it to so many women out there who might not know that that's something that lives within them.
Essentially, an empath or being empathic is somebody who has the ability to feel and sense energies that don't belong to them. It's, you know, it's not so much an intuitive ability, it's a psychic ability. And you know, we all are empathic, you know, to different degrees. But it, you know, especially with women, because, and it does come back to the womb, and that's a whole different divine feminine, you know, conversation. But it is it, and that's what's hard, is you're so open all the time that you don't have a boundary to know what's yours and what's not. And most, you know, people when they first come see me, you know, 9 out of 10 times, like they're embarrassed to tell me, they told me I'm an empath. Are you seeing that? I'm like, you really need me to validate that for you? Okay, but I will. Of course you're an empath. If you were not an empath, you wouldn't be here looking for a way to help defend yourself against what that has meant for you up until this point. Because, you know, that's throughout most of, you know, empaths' lifetimes, they didn't know why they would go to a party and they wanted to leave. They don't know why they would watch a movie or watch the news and just cry. They had to turn it off. They don't know why their body hurt, you know, when they would walk through a hospital or anything like that. And that's an empathic ability. An empath, you know, some empathic abilities you actually feel. You know, you feel physical pain. That's called, you know, clairsentience. And then you also can hear sometimes people what they're experiencing, and it's hard. Being an empath is hard because you don't know where you stop and where another person begins, and until you know that word, it's all, you know, to me a spiritual journey is about increasing your vocabulary. Once you have the words to label, it goes back to label, once you have the words to label who you are and what you're experiencing, then you can begin treating it and healing it. You know, it's the same thing in the scientific community. They don't start looking for a cure until you name it. And that to me is the power of an empath. Where it goes a little sideways, and that's where I come in. And, you know, readings for me, I'm not going to hold your hand through discovering your empathic abilities. I'm going to tell you, like, sorry, you don't get to hold that anymore. If you want to be a healer in this world, regardless of whether, you know, you're, you know, a writer, a business executive, if you want to be a healer in this world and do that, if you can't look at somebody else's pain with strength, you're never going to be able to help them through it. And so, yes, I understand. I think boundaries are so important, but your boundaries have got to stop being a crutch. Being an empath it's a power. It's not a crutch. It's not wilting away and being, I'm so sensitive. You know, claiming your sensitivity doesn't make you less sensitive. It makes you being able to deal with it better.
Well said. That was amazing. And I just think that's like empath is here to empower. They're not here to
Yes.
be a victim. So I just want to share this for all you empaths out there that might be going, oh my gosh, that's what this is. I
Well,
want
and
to
because
give you a little
empath too, sorry, it becomes like this thing, like I said, they get embarrassed. Am I an empath? Yes. You say it with strength,
yeah.
don't, and own it. Figure out what that means for you.
I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And through my empowerment coaching, I've been able to recognize that in others, and they feel so relieved when
Isn't that the best thing?
it kind of, when they again asked questions, be
Yes.
aware, and then you really learn some self-discovery things that can empower you. But I do want to share this little tip real quick. So if a lot of empaths will get kind of anxiety social disorder in big groups, or if they're around somebody that maybe like you're in a happy mood and you walk in and immediately you kind of feel that energy. And you don't know why all of a sudden, like you're kind of getting sluggish and you know something's off. They call it bad vibes, whatever. When you start to notice that, you can just like tap your finger or your thumb, squeeze it, and just say, I am here, I am here, I am here. It just kind of helps you get back into yourself and to be able to be aware that you have a boundary that can be honored, but you have to give that boundary power. So I don't know, just a quick little.
That's what I talk about that all the time. I'm like, because empaths and intuition, all that stuff. What that is it's a sense. It's a knowing that is outside of rationality. It's outside of logic. And what that is, we all heard of sixth sense. Your sixth sense is not here. And so with anxiety, when I teach workshops on empaths or developing psychic abilities, I said, when you have a lot of anxiety or you go like this, I mean, that's what I do. When I get overwhelmed, I'm like, oh. And the best thing to do to get out of that negative manifestation of your sixth sense, which is actually anxiety, get into your fifth sense. Touch something, smell something, and it's like smelling coffee. When you wake up in the morning, you got to bring all yourself back. You're not here, and that's why coffee, you smell it and it brings you back. It's those simple things, a spiritual journey, developing your intuition, your psychic abilities, your mediumship abilities don't have to be extraordinary. They're already extraordinary. So, step away, do something that brings you back here. Be present. That's the way to break through your anxiety and getting over empath. The one thing that I love about, that I love to tell people, because empaths, that goes hand in hand with boundaries. You hear empath and you're like, it's my boundaries, I gotta have it. Awesome. But if you keep repeating the same pattern over and over and over, it's not a boundary, it's a challenge. You're daring, the universe and your tribe. And that's not a bad thing, but you have to know it's to help you feel empowered. Like, that's why if you have to repeat a boundary over and over again, it's not a boundary, it's a dare.
It's a decision. When you make the same choice. And I'll say too, and this is probably a whole episode in itself, but for you empaths out there, you're probably a magnet for narcissists. And there is help out there for you.
There is. There was a whole section in Barnes and Noble.
Episode. But so that kind of wraps it up for all the intuition questions. But I do have a couple questions that came in from social media regarding mediumship, and so I'd love to go over those with you as well. Maybe take a break. Spirit with spirit.
Spirits and spirits. Cheers.
We'll dive into that next. Okay, so the questions that we probably have time for about 3 more. So the number one question was, do I have to be in person for a mediumship reading? And I think that's a great question.
No, not for me. That's the thing. Everybody has their own abilities and their way to work. For me, it doesn't matter. For me, the real definition of mediumship is you're channeling another spirit. That doesn't mean, channeling doesn't have to mean that they come in you like in the movie Ghost. It just means that you're channeling information. You're a translator of light. That's what mediumship is to me. And so it doesn't matter whether you're here or here, the messages come through. They are eternal. They're there. You just sort of tap into them. So no, absolutely not. If my if it relied on me being in person, I couldn't do what I do. And sometimes it works better. You know, some people are not comfortable seeing them face to face, you know, and I've got clients from all over the world. And the one thing, you know, the great thing about where we're at now is look at all the TV shows. Mediumship, there's TV shows about mediumships and ghosts, and I'm like, thank goodness. I love that. And so no, you know, to answer your question, no, there is no difference for me to be in person, over the phone, over video. It's really just your personal preference.
No, I think that's great, and you're right. I think media, there's so many, Tyler Henry, and there's the Long Island Medium, and all of those are usually done in person, but I mean, you don't have to be in person, and with today's technology, you can do Zoom calls if you want, if you're far away. And just to plug you a little bit, I know some networks have seeked you out as well, just to let the audience know. She's a real deal, everyone. Okay, so the second question, how do I prepare for a reading? So I feel like that question might have some little anxiety around it, like, and that might be normal. Like, anything you have to say about that?
Yes. Well, you know, like I said, for me, mediumship or psychic, you know, some people come to see me, they have no idea I'm a medium. Some people come to see me, they have no idea that, you know, 60% of my work is psychic and working for corporations or land developers, you know. So it's how you prepare for a reading is, one, know that if you're searching for it, there's a message for you, and relax. You know, my business has been built by word of mouth. I just thought that was the best way for me to build my business, because it's different for me. You know, readings, they're not about me, and there's lots of mediums and psychics it's what's called cold readings, and so they're like, shh, let me just read you. I don't work that way, because it's not about me. Why is somebody going to use their money to have prove my abilities? And so it's not that it's wrong, it's just find what works for you. So it's all, for me, it's interactive. So to prepare for a reading, one, if you're going into a reading as a skeptic, really ask yourself why. What am I looking to prove? Because most of the time, you know, it comes back to you already know it. If you're looking to prove or disprove a medium, it's because you're really looking to have your own abilities validated. You're wanting somebody to see, and that's not necessarily a medium's job. A medium's job is to speak for the dead, you know. And if you're coming in wanting questions about your own abilities, then ask those questions.
I think that's really good, and I think probably a lot of that type of question comes from, unfortunately, just like with any industry or any profession, there's the best of the best, and there's the screw ups, or, you know, the people who are fraudulent. And so,
Absolutely.
unfortunately, I think, especially in what you do, there's fraudulent people who give it a bad name. It's like that in any business. And I just want to give that insight to everybody. Think of the last time you had housework done and you had, you know, really bad experience. Like, it happens.
Are you going to hire a house painter and pay him good money just to see if he can do it?
Right.
No.
Right.
You're out searching for something that you need. And so you need to go into, you know, even if it's therapy, if it's therapy, if it's, you know, whatever it is, you're going in because you need it. And so that, to me, is how you want to look at intuitive readings. You know, like people that hire me for business consultants and stuff, they don't hire an accountant and pay them good money just to see if they can do it. You know, you hire them because, one, you got to trust your intuition. You trust if that person feels right for you. You know, 88% of people, you know, do make decisions, big life decisions, based on their gut feeling. And that's how you have to go into, you know, these types of sessions.
Well, you talked about counseling, and I'm so glad you said that, because we both came across the same article this week, and it's actually been published in the New York Times and in the Huffington Post, that intuitives are the new wellness coach. It's really on trend right now, because people are getting more answers that resonate with them on a soul level, that's causing more transformation in their life. And so I definitely want to mention that, because, I mean, again, this is not Ashley just throwing random facts out there. Go look it up in the New York Times and the Huffington Post.
And it's in Forbes also. Forbes
Huge
has written
thing.
a couple articles, and so is Newsweek. Newsweek did a whole episode on spirit, a whole issue on spirituality. And, yeah, I mean, people would be, I work on high confidentiality, which I think most psychics and consultants do. For me, that it's the same thing. I take my job very seriously. And if you're going to hire a consultant, you hire an NDA, and I ask for an NDA because I want people to feel safe. Like, this is a professional thing, and that, to me, that's what it is. And so, yeah, I mean, that to me is why it's so important right now, is you want to transcend the spiritual into the material. They're not two separate things.
Dale Smith Thomas, who's been on Goddess Talk, she told me once I was stepping into a new venture, and I was kind of like asking her for advice, or like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. What if I fail?
Yeah.
And she said, Ashley, the worst you can do is tie, because at the end of the day, if you try something new, and either you're going to expand, or maybe you don't. It doesn't give you the answer you want, and you're left exactly at the same point that you were. The worst you can do is tie. So I just thought it was a great quote. So thanks, Dale.
Yes.
Okay, and the last question is, and we kind of addressed this already, is I feel nervous. Should I be scared? So maybe any last words about any fear that someone might potentially have walking into a session?
I get a little ornery with things like this. It's like, why do you want to be scared? Yes. It kind of goes back to fear. We are, off of our rocker if we don't think that there's a part of us that wants to be scared. I mean, look at the money that haunted houses can, bring in, or paranormal investigations or roller coaster rides. How much money do you pay to go to Six Flags, for God's sakes, to get scared? And so fear is like, that's one of those things. It is either, an adrenaline busting, like, life goal, or it holds you back. And so if you want to come into a reading and be scared, sure, but you're going to end up having fun with that fear, but I'm sure that what you're referring to, which happens, one of those kind of misconceptions about what I do is, oh my God, are you going to tell me something bad? Are you going to tell me when I'm going to die? I'm not me, even that's not what my guides give me, because there's no healing in knowing when you're going to die. I mean, yes, it does come through if somebody's on hospice or something and it brings healing. Am I going to send you, with spirit attachments? No. I would almost guarantee, because I've never had anybody, reach out to me in any way after reading and say, you scared the crap out of me. Never.
Absolutely. And I told my story at the beginning with you, and I know I've referred you to so many people, and so my experience was not special and more beautiful or transformative than anybody else's because I'm Ashley. It's because it is of the highest vibration of love and healing and transformation, and it is the most high thing, I can't even put it into words. So like, for anyone to be scared, I just want to say no. I will tell you, you will walk away with so much clarity and so much love and so much healing that you will be able to start a new phase of your life, to, again, the whole point of this show, to stand in your power, to recognize your highest potential, and to live your best life. So I didn't really mean to end the segment that way, but
it's perfect. It's full circle. It is totally, it's full circle. And yeah, it all comes back to, I have a question because I want an answer.